I'm Carolyn, I'm 73 and well, before I use a label, from the age of 3 I knew I was different. Didn't seem to fit in. Knew people could be punished for being like me. Religion said it was sinful, wrong, evil. Labels used for people like me were often used as insults. It was dirty and I was dirty. But now I can be open, my coming out. I'm Carolyn, I'm 73 and I'm left-handed. Okay, so I also felt uncomfortable with my sex and gender, but the comparison is worth making. Children of my generation had their left arms strapped to their side or were hit with sticks if they tried to use their left hands. The damage done to those children was often immense. What a revelation when people realised that being left-handed wasn't unnatural. They stopped saying that being left-handed was unacceptable and that those children themselves were unacceptable. Because we now don't force people to go against their nature by treating them barbarically and telling them they're wrong. We have more left-handed people. Not surprising. Compare that with another side of my nature. I'm a trans-historied woman. I lived the first 55 years of my life with the shame that society, including medics, imposed on me and tried to cure me from. I was aged 17, 18, desperate kid, particularly desperate for a cure, referred to an NHS hospital. And this is part of a short film by a young filmmaker, Andrew Cardinal. Watch how I and many others were treated. I was taken into a room, windowless room, and in the centre was a wooden chair. Also, was what I later learned was called an epidiascope, a large light that managed to project pictures to the wall in front of me. There was a fan to cool the epidiascope because the light was so bright. That made a noise. And I remember the noise now, clearly. And as I was sitting there, strapped in, they soaked electrodes in salt water, in brine, and attached them to my arm. They had explained to me that what they were going to do was to inflict pain so that I associated pain with what I wanted to do. But I was sitting there, electrodes stuck to my arm strapped to the wooden chair, and the lights were turned out. You could feel the warmth from the epidiascope. You could smell the salt water on the electrodes. A picture was shone onto the wall opposite. Picture of an item of female clothing. Nothing happened. Second picture, nothing happened. The third picture, and the switch was thrown. My hand shot up in the air. But of course, my arm didn't, because it was strapped to the chair. I cried. "Why are you crying?" said the doctor. "Because it hurts," I said. I didn't mind being hurt if it helped me, if it cured me. The smell of the salt water changed as it was burning. You could smell the burning seawater and the salt, strange acrid smell in the air. The epidiascope was still going. Through my tears, another picture and another picture. And then the pain. And that continued. The referral was to help me. The referral was to cure me. The referral was to give me treatment that made me better. The worst thing was not that. Not the pain, not the cruelty, not the barbarism. The worst thing was it didn't work. What it did do, though, is for the next 40 years of my life, every time I recalled those episodes, I physically shivered. Whether I was working, whether I was driving the car, I physically shivered every time the thought of that treatment passed through my head. It doesn't now. I can talk about it with some emotion, but I can talk about it, and I'm not going to shiver. Am I cured? Yes, but not through that treatment. I'm cured from that treatment, not by that treatment. Look, I didn't show you that to get sympathy or to shock you. That type of therapy doesn't happen now. It caused deaths and eventually was recognised as being barbaric. Conversion therapy, however, does still take place. It's not as obviously brutal now, but it is as cruel. Damage is as great, potential lost is severe. This year, the UN condemned conversion therapy and called for a global ban, calling it degrading, inhuman, and cruel, and creates a significant risk of torture. Thanks to Stonewall and others lobbying our government, there was a commitment in July 2018 to bring forward proposals to end conversion therapy in the UK. Prime Minister said in July this year, 2 years on, that gay conversion therapy was absolutely abhorrent and has no place in this country. Action, a study would take place, and they would bring forward plans to ban it. Already, no recognised medical body in the UK supports it, describing it as unethical. So much remains to be done to make sure that not just gay conversion therapy is banned, but all conversion therapy. More than that, only by open acceptance for who we are can we reach our full potential. Stonewall's work for acceptance without exception is far from done and even more important perhaps than it was. I didn't just survive, although at times it was a close-run thing. I succeeded. Had a very successful professional career, loving family, great friends, but only since 2002 have I felt more at ease with myself. I'm not dirty, not evil, not sinful, and I do deserve positive emotions, but I've had to learn that. And after 55 years, day and night of self-loathing, it's a big task which I've still to succeed at. Bottom line, why does it matter to anyone else how I look, how I live, or who I love? People aren't electrocuted now by the NHS, as I was, but not accepting people for who they are still goes on. Damage is being imposed, people are suffering, and the effects are long-lasting. Exhibit A. Finally, I'm Carolyn, I'm 73, and I'm, amongst all my labels, parent, spouse, friend, head teacher, union officer, etc., etc. I'm Carolyn, I'm 73, and I'm me. Thanks, Stonewall. Thank you all for supporting.